See the car in the middle lane here? He spins out of control on the wet road, ends up over on the left lane, hits the wall, and so the guy behind him runs into the back of him. Now the guy in this car has dashcam proof of exactly what happened. And he wasn't speeding, he wasn't breaking the law, yet his insurance company are limiting his claim, saying, you're partly at fault here, so you need to pay the full insurance excess. And so he's posted the video clip to YouTube. And as you can imagine, everyone's up in arms. They're saying the same thing you're probably thinking. The car that caused the accident wasn't even in the same lane. Sounds like dodgy insurance practices. You need to take the insurance company to court. You need to send this video to the national news. Go to the insurance ombudsman. How was it his fault? How was he supposed to stop? That car swerved uncontrollably into the driver's lane. There's no way he could have predicted that. People were calling out the insurance company by name, saying they're just out to rip off Australians. Send the info to the news. I'd be spewing if that was my insurance company. Yeah, everyone should check their insurance policies right now. Yeah, read the fine print. So we're going to break down this clip to have a look at why the insurance company didn't pay out, because the real reason might actually surprise you. So, looking at the clip, at first glance this looks very straightforward. The Honda, this car here, is driving in the centre lane. Looks like he's either lost control or possibly wanted to move into the right hand lane, suddenly realised there was a car there, changed his mind. Either way, he's lost control of his car on the wet road. Starts spinning out of control, ends up over in the left lane, hits the wall, and then the driver in the dashcam car hits the back of him. So most people watching this video are more than likely going to come to the same conclusion. It's the Honda driver's fault. He's the guy who caused the accident. There's no way it could have been avoided. But the reality is, insurance companies don't look at accidents the same way that you and I do. Let's slow this down for a moment. The Honda begins to lose control here. The Honda enters into the dashcam driver's lane and hits the wall. So while you and I look at this video and think, well yeah, it's 100% his fault, insurance companies are asking a different question. The question they're asking is, could have our client, the driver with the dashcam, who's coming forward to the insurance company asking if they can fix the damages to his car, could he have avoided hitting the car that had spun out of control and stopped suddenly in front of him in his lane? Could have he avoided that? When a police officer arrives to a crash scene, they want to know who's at fault, who broke the law. That's really all they're interested in. Was someone speeding? Was someone drink driving? Was somebody on their phone or distracted? But insurance companies, sure, they want to know that too. But what they also want to know is, did this driver, their client, the dashcam car, did he somehow contribute to this crash? Was he involved in an accident that he either contributed to or could have avoided but didn't? Because they're not worried about the other car. That's probably not their client. The guy with the dashcam is coming to his insurance company and saying, hey, I hit a car, it's not my fault, this guy just slid out and ended up in front of me, I hit him, I want you to fix my car. So now the insurance company's like, okay, why were you in that crash and could have you avoided that crash? Because before we pay out to have your car fixed, we want to know, did you take all the steps possible to avoid having the crash in the first place? From a legal standpoint, sure, he's not doing anything wrong. He's in a 60 zone, and you can see the fastest that he's going here on this road at any time leading up to the crash is 56 kilometers an hour. So he's not speeding. There's no mention of them saying they didn't pay out because he'd been drinking or he was distracted, he was on his mobile phone. In actual fact, what the insurance company are saying is that he followed too closely and didn't leave a big enough stopping distance, which would be fine if they're both in the same lane. Because here in Western Australia, you're following distance behind another vehicle. It's talked about in the book here. It's called the 2-second rule, meaning if you're following another vehicle, the distance that you are behind that vehicle should be a minimum of 2 seconds. In New South Wales, where this accident happened, it's 3 seconds, so the gap's slightly longer. And in actual fact, in New South Wales, if you're caught following too closely to the vehicle in front of you, and you're too close to stop safely, you can get fined $562. and lose 3 demerit points. But in this guy's case, he's not following this car. He's not even in the same lane as the other car. So why did the insurance company say, you're following too closely to be able to stop in time? That's why you hit him. What insurance companies are more concerned with is, were you driving to the road conditions? Not necessarily to the law, but to the conditions of the road. Because as we know, different conditions can drastically affect your safety on the road. If it's heavy rain, if there's fog, if it's nighttime versus daytime, visibility is low, if there's debris on the road, if you're coming up to a tight bend. Obviously, even if the speed limit's 60, you're not going to take the bend at 60 kilometers an hour. You're going to slow down for the bend. If there's a hazard ahead, you need to slow down so that you're able to stop if you need to. If there's pedestrians, other vehicles, broken down cars, whatever, we need to drive to the road conditions, not necessarily the maximum speed allowed for that road. So while the insurance company's not asking the question, did our client break the law? They're asking the question, did our client contribute to the crash? And they are not talking about the crash of the Honda, because no, the dashcam driver didn't contribute to that crash. That was well out of their control. That happened with or without the dashcam driver being present. That was always going to happen. So they're not asking, did he contribute to that crash? They're asking, did he contribute to the crash where he's rear-ended into the back of the Honda, and the claim that he's making to his insurance company by saying, my car's all damaged because I hit into the back of a car. The insurance company's asking, well, yeah, did you contribute to that crash? And they classify this as contributory negligence. So if there's negligence on the part of the claimant, in this case the dashcam driver, this is more than likely in the fine print of the insurance contract. They can reduce the payout. They can call it shared liability, meaning we can't ask the insurance company of the Honda to pay for the damages to your car because the liability needs to be shared between both of you for the accident that you're claiming for, because you're both contributing to this crash, so we need to share the liability. Or in some cases, it may even be a outright refusal of the claim altogether. Claim 100% denied. We're not paying it. So while the insurance company, like you and I, are saying, well, you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, buddy. You're in the left lane. This guy in the middle lane spins out of control on the wet road, ends up in your lane in front of you, hits the wall, you hit him. Yeah, that was bad luck. But then their question to him is, what did you do in order to mitigate the risk? When you saw the Honda starting to lose traction, lose control, did you slow down? Were you prepared for an accident? Were you driving not to the speed limit, being 60? We know that you're under 60, but were you driving to the conditions of the road? The road was very wet and slippery, and the corner was very sharp. Did you slow down to take that corner at a reasonable speed? Did you allow for the rain and the wet roads? Did you then take into account that the car beside you was running into trouble and there was a likelihood that he was going to lose control and cause an accident? And did you slow down to account for that? They're the questions the insurance company would be asking. Now, if it were a complete denial from the insurance company, that'd have to be a fairly extreme case by saying, we think you were driving recklessly, you were driving dangerously, you were driving illegally, you were doing something stupid, you were intoxicated, whatever. Therefore, there's no way you could have avoided the accident because of the way you were driving, or we're not paying you at all. Well, the insurance company isn't actually saying they'll totally deny his claim or won't pay his claim, but the claim is limited and there's going to be out-of-pocket expenses for the driver of the dashcam car. He's got to pay the full excess. His insurance premium's probably going to be affected on his next insurance policy. So when we look back down the road that the driver was on, sure, it's a 60 kilometre zone. We can see the driver's doing about 55, 56, 52, whatever. So he's definitely below 60. But have a look at this. There's two signs here that this driver clearly didn't take into consideration. One is this sign that clearly says these roads are slippery when it's wet. In other words, if you're driving on this road and it's raining, disregard the 60 zone, slow down because it gets really slippery here. The second sign that is obviously clearly disregarded is this sign here that says this is a sharp corner, you should probably take it at about 45 k's an hour, not 60. And that's on a good day. In other words, if the road was dry, even on a good day, it's a sharp corner, take it at about 45 just to be safe. The fact that it's raining, the roads are wet and it's very slippery, then you should probably do it at about 30 to 35 k's an hour. But we can see here that the driver of the dash cam car has totally disregarded both of those signs, that the roads are wet, that it's a sharp corner that should be taken at about 45 or less, and he's taken this corner at 55. Now the first sign of trouble that we see this Honda is in is probably about here somewhere. The driver of the dash cam car is doing about 54 k's an hour. Now it's at this point here where the insurance company would be looking at this and thinking, well, okay dude, sure, this guy spun out of control, ended up in your lane, you hit him, but you're still doing 55, 56 k's an hour on a wet road on a very sharp bend that you've been warned about, that it's slippery and that it's a sharp bend, that you should take it about 45 on a dry road. But you're sailing around this wet road on this sharp corner doing 56 k's an hour. You then see the car in front of you. Yes, he is in a different lane, so you're not following him too closely. He's starting to lose traction here. You're still doing 53, 54 k's an hour. You're not slowing down, thinking, this could end badly. In actual fact, even when the guy comes over into the left lane, dashcam driver's still doing about 52, 53. At no point is he slowing down thinking, oh, this is a potential hazard. This is going to go really badly. The Honda hits the wall, dashcam driver's right behind him, still doing 51, 52 k's an hour. Of course he's going to hit him. The other thing the insurance company may look at is there's nobody else in the middle lane behind the Honda. You saw the Honda come over to the left lane, hit the wall, and come to an abrupt stop. You then ploughed straight into the back of him, yet there's nobody in the middle lane. Why didn't you jump straight over into the middle lane? You wouldn't have hit any car. You notice after the dashcam cars hit the Honda, there's no other cars in the middle lane. So that was a clear lane for him to have been able to jump straight into. So this is why the insurance company's probably saying, mate, we feel that you contributed to that crash, not the Honda crash, but you hitting the Honda was partly your fault because you weren't driving to the road conditions. You weren't doing 45 or under around a sharp corner. You weren't taking into account that the roads were wet and slippery, therefore maybe going even slower than 45. You didn't slow down when you saw this Honda starting to lose traction, and when he wound up in your lane, you didn't have an escape route. And we feel that you partly contributed to your accident by not slowing down in time to avoid it, by not looking for an exit route into the middle lane or somewhere where you could have avoided the crash, and therefore that's why we're not paying out on this insurance claim. So here's my question to you. What do you think? Do you think this crash was totally 100% unavoidable, meaning it was 100% the Honda driver's fault and the guy in the dashcam car, there's no way he could have avoided hitting him? Or, after watching the video and hearing the evidence and looking at the things that the insurance company would have looked at, do you now think, possibly he did contribute to the crash in some degree because he was going a little bit quick for the road conditions? He didn't slow down for the corner. He didn't slow down for the wet roads. He didn't slow down when he saw the Honda starting to slide. And he probably could have jumped into the middle lane to avoid ploughing into the back of the Honda rather than sailing straight into the back of him. So do you see that maybe the insurance company's right to reduce or deny his claim? What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. I'm genuinely curious to hear what you have to say about this one. We think as drivers, we're insured, the insurance company's going to pay out if something goes wrong. But we as drivers also need to be responsible to avoid crashes if we can. My guess is his insurance company did the analysis as we've just done, and they concluded we don't really feel that he was driving to the road conditions and that he took the necessary steps to try and avoid having a crash with the car that had hit the wall. That's my thought. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.